Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of this podcast. Last episode, it was called Schizo SJW's Review Music. This episode, we've settled on the name The Music Nook. And this is basically a podcast where me and my friend Jaden uh, trade albums back and forth each week. Every week, every Monday, there's an episode, and each week we take turns talking about an album that we really enjoy. Last week was my turn, and I did Circles by Mac Miller. And this week, Jaden is going to be doing No One Ever Really Dies by N.E.R.D. Um, so without further
Yeah,
ado, hell yeah, we're gonna dive into the first track here. Lemon. I'm pretty sure this is the most popular single off of the
it is.
album by
It's the first
far.
single, most popular by far. It's popular for, there's an edit of it that is just the Rihanna verse, basically. There's also a remix featuring Drake. So this song has legs on its own outside of this album more than anything else on this album does. But I think that within the context of the album, it also works exceptionally well, just as a very good song. It takes a lot of New Orleans bounce influence, which I like,
Hmm,
sonically at least.
hmm,
I chose this album because it's partially because I think it's more, yeah, I think it's representative of my kind of taste in music in that it's very music focused. Like the production is what I'm going to be talking about a lot throughout this album. But another bonus about it is that the lyrics are really good and are often very socially conscious, political,
hmm.
or uh, otherwise interesting and worth diving into. So uh, we can get into this first song here. This album came out in 2017, and a lot of the songs can be read as being related to Trump or conservatism in general, criticism of that, of course. And uh, it starts off with an iconic opening line: "The truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off," which I love. That's a great way to open an album. This is just a perfect opening track, in my opinion. I love the fake out ending. Like you think that the song's over, and then it's like, "You can catch me," and then the instrumental outro. Very fun.
I
What are you
wonder what
thinking?
yeah, it's actually one of my least favorite songs on the album. I really like the deeper cuts that are like more experimental and ethereal and grandiose. This kind of reads to me like a little bit more of a generic hip hop song, so like I actually don't spin it all that much. I love Rihanna's part though. Like if
Rihanna's
the
part
I
is the
understand.
highlight.
Yes, for sure. Like you said that there is an edit of this song that was basically just Rihanna's verse, and I understand why they did that.
I will say one of the weakest parts of this album comes from this song, which is uh, Pharrell just basically repeating Rihanna's verse at the
Rihanna's
end.
verse, yeah.
It's like every time that happens, I'm like, was this necessary? It's like not bad, but like that Rihanna's verse is a verse. It's not really like, it's hooky, it's memorable, it's catchy, and all of that. But I don't know if it works best to just repeat the verse. But that's just me personally. I respect what they're doing with the song, and I think it's creative and interesting that they take basically an entire verse and repeat it. But yeah, I love the
Yeah, it is
production on this
interesting.
song personally. I like the switch up, how it starts off like a lot faster beat and then slows down, like goes like half speed or whatever in the second part with Rihanna. Um, I think it's really catchy and memorable. Um, there's a I love the wait a minute sample.
Yeah.
I think that's very iconic. I think that this is, at the very least, even if it's one of your uh, lesser favorite songs on the album, would you say it's at least a good song in general?
Oh yeah, for sure. Above average hip hop song for sure.
Hmm.
hip hop single. It's interesting to me that on verse one when he's going, "Hey," he's saying "hate." I thought he was saying I thought he was saying "hey," but apparently he's saying "hate." And the Genius commentators don't really have anything to say about that. So I wonder what that's in reference to, or what exactly Pharrell was trying to achieve with that line. But yeah, that's very interesting. Like, um, that's also uh, that's also a feature of a Marilyn Manson song, "The Beautiful People." There's this background vocals on parts of the song where it goes, "Hey, hey, hey," and if you actually read the lyrics, they're saying "hate, hate, hate." So this song basically does the exact same thing. I don't know if that's like taking inspiration from that song because The Beautiful People did come out way back in like 1996. So obviously like
It's
about
not
21.
impossible, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, not impossible. Also not the most complicated idea, so I wouldn't be surprised if Pharrell like just came up with it on his own too. But
Hmm.
interesting little feature. I didn't know, I was not aware he was saying hate.
Yeah, we'll be talking about Marilyn Manson at some point, I'm sure. Eve is a big
Oh, for
Marilyn Manson
sure.
fan.
Uh-oh, I dropped my AirPod. And
No,
it's interesting the juxtaposition between hate and him talking about all of the women chasing him. Like, why is he saying hate?
I think that it's
Uh,
probably intended to be something political, but I'm not quite sure what exactly.
it could be that. It could also be saying people are hating on him because, and this is like a way more simplistic reading, but it also could be saying people are hating on him because he has so many women. Um, but then again, he says, "Hate niggas can't believe my race." So that would lend a little bit more credibility to the political meaning line or the political meaning interpretation.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
Don't
and
drink
the
the Kool
Pharrell,
Aid, my friends. I tried to tell y'all about this dude. That is generally, I think, accepted to be a line about Trump.
yeah, please don't drink the Kool-Aid. It's coming up again. Oh gosh, okay. Yeah, I also do find, yeah,
What
it
do you
would
mean?
be cool if, oh yeah, Trump is gonna be the freaking nominee. Like we're gonna a whole nother election cycle where it's just Trump, 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 third one in a row. Yay for
Yep,
us.
Mamma
Um,
Mia.
I actually sometimes just straight up skip to the next song after Rihanna's verse ends.
What about the bath salt part?
I think
Bath
it sounds
salt.
really
Biting speakers in
cool.
the face. Bath salt. Biting speakers in the face.
You know what? That might be where I skip it. I can't remember exactly where I skip it, but I know that I skip it before Pharrell just repeats the Rihanna's verse.
Yeah, I do love Rihanna rapping on this song.
Oh yeah, it's fucking fantastic. One of my
One
favorite
of the
just
best
Rihanna
Rihanna
songs,
features of all
period.
time.
Oh yeah, for sure. One of the best Rihanna songs of all time, IMO.
Probably not. Like Rihanna has some great songs, but best
Yeah.
Rihanna features. I feel good saying that.
As somebody who's more of a hip hop fan than I
I'd
am a
say it's
pop
at
or
least.
R&B
Oh, go
fan,
ahead.
it's one of my favorite as somebody who's more of a hip hop fan than a pop and R&B fan, it's definitely it's definitely like this song and Bitch Better Have My Money are probably my two favorite Rihanna songs, honestly.
Really,
Yeah.
I wonder if the Rihanna fan base is like tapped into this song. I wonder if they like this song. I
I
don't really
wonder.
know anything about the Rihanna fan base.
I'm
Any
sure they
Rihanna
know it
fans in
exists
the
because
in the
this
podcast
drop a
listening?
comment
Let us know. Yeah,
if
if
you have a perspective.
you can speak for the Rihanna Navy, I'm pretty sure that's their fandom name,
The Rihanna
something like that.
Navy? Also, by the way, I'm gonna go ahead and upload this episode of the podcast next Monday. So we're recording this on the 29th of January. I'm gonna upload this podcast next Monday on what is, I believe, the 5th of January.
Of
Um,
February.
yeah, of February rather. And we'll just keep doing that. So like each time we record an episode, it goes up a week later. So this episode is going up, is being recorded a week in advance if you're watching this live, if you care about that for whatever reason. I guess if we fail to mention, fucking some major fucking relevant disaster or political event, it's because this these episodes are recorded a week in advance. Um,
Yeah.
but anyway, do you have anything left to say about this song?
Nah, not really.
All right, then it is on to the next one if I can find where the track list is. Guess I can just hit the
Deep,
back button.
deep down, body thirst.
Yes. Probably also one of my uh, less favorite. Oh, the song doesn't have complete lyrics. Interesting. This is probably
That
also
is
one of my
interesting.
less favorite songs on the album, but it's still a good song. Like this album is like a great album, so even my least favorite songs are still good songs. But anyway, what do you have to say about this song?
I actually think we might have a different perspective where I kind of prefer the uh, like the singles and like the more popular songs on this album over the more experimental deep cuts, with some exceptions, of course. Like I love Lightning, Fire, Magic Prayer, and ESP, but Rollin' Them Sevens and Kites are probably two of my least favorite on the album if I had to choose. So I really like the first
Rolling,
half.
set.
Rolling the Sevens is good. Like I feel like I probably have a similar perspective that you have, where it's like the weaker songs are still really good. I probably am more positive on it than you are because I still really like Rolling the Sevens. I still really like Kites, and this is one of my favorite albums in general. But I really like the one thing about this album is that it's the when they repeat something, they usually change it in some way. They'll add like vocal layers or change up something about the song. This is one
Hmm.
of the songs that I think is more simple and has parts that repeat without many major changes. But in the next song and other songs, there's always something changing. There's always something new happening. Like the production on this album, I think is stellar.
It's
Um,
fantastic.
it's like I think music is still catching up to this album, and I hope it does someday. I would love to hear more music like this, but um, this is one of the more, I think, explicitly, openly political songs. There's lines like "We'll climb your wall," "The way you treat Islam," "Jesus would open his arms," uh, and things like that. Um, and I like that, and I love the sound of this song. The chorus is really catchy and memorable to me. The dead wrong, deep, deep down, body thirst. It's so good. Um, so I'm curious to hear what you think, though.
Yeah, this is one of the more singly songs, so it doesn't like it's not necessarily my cup of tea, but I didn't realize the song was so political. As somebody who like typically, as we established last episode, really listens to lyrics a lot, I found that I wasn't listening to lyrics as much with this song. Or with this album rather. I actually found that I was just kind of really appreciating the music more than anything else because the lyrics are often not easily digestible and they come at you rapid fire, right? Like this is a hip hop
Mm-hmm.
album and it's a conscious hip hop album and it's not a down tempo hip hop album. It's an up tempo album with very complex themes and layers of themes that address serious issues. So the lyrics are coming at you fast and dense. So I often found that I couldn't really digest the lyrics that fast, and I was just kind of listening to the music for this one. Um, and I didn't realize that this song was about corporate and political corruption. If I had to guess before looking at this Genius page, I would have guessed that it had to do more with latent unrealized desire just from the title Deep Down Body Thirst. But no, apparently it's a political song. Um which yeah, I knew this album had strong political themes on it, but I didn't know that this song in particular was political. And it makes me kind of want to revisit it a bit.
Mhm. I loved
Um
the slow down, the breakdown partway through where uh, can't really describe it unless you've heard the song, but I hope you know what I mean if you have heard it. Um, I love the switches throughout the song. I love the build up. I really like the chord progression actually. I think that it's a it's a good catchy song that is still
mhm.
creative and uh, somewhat experimental, even if it's probably it might be the most it's one of the most straightforward on the album at least, which is uh, not necessarily saying much for how straightforward it is, but I don't know if I have much more to say about it.
All right, well, on to the next song. Probably one of my favorite hooks on the album. Voila.
Gucci Mane,
You're yeah, no, this is one of my favorite hooks on the album.
it's
They
a very
think I'm a
creative hook. It's
magician.
really catchy, and it's like kind of a weirdly complex, um, long chorus, but it's incredibly catchy. And there's lines like "I might pull up on a skateboard." It's just so fun and memorable to me.
And they're still gonna pay me attention.
Oh yeah, voila, voila, it's Gucci.
Voila.
Love it. I feel like this is a song that I usually don't think about. It's not one of the first songs that I think about when I think of this album, but every time I listen to it, I'm like, that song is better than I remember it being.
Oh yeah, this song is fantastic. I was telling Jaden that I had an experience where I kind of forgot how much I liked this album. I listened to this album a whole bunch when it first came out, and then kind of, more or less forgot it existed. And then when it was time to listen to it for this podcast, I was like, "Oh yeah, I think I listened to this album just like once, just because like my memory was failing me." And then as I was listening to the album, I realized like, "Oh shit, like no, I used to listen to this album all the time because the memories were just getting triggered by the music." And um, this is one of the songs that like really, really like brought me back. Like, oh shit, I remember this. This was a fire ass hook. I remember loving this shit.
It's a great one. I really like the verses as well. The built in like the pre-chorus. The "You are a magician, voila, voila, you can make it happen."
Make it happen.
Really catchy. There's a lot of like uh, just creative and like Devo esque is probably the thing that comes to mind for me in terms of like a comparison for another band. But I like this a lot more than Devo,
Mm.
um, personally at least. And um, the switch up with Wale at the end of this song is really interesting. I feel like it's an interesting time sequence or something. When I try to count it, it's either some really weirdly swung 4/4 or it's not 4/4 at all and something else entirely. I can't really tell, but uh, Wale gives a good verse.
Nice. Anything else to say?
Not really. Good guitar and great production as always. 1000. Now we're talking. I love this song so
This
much.
is probably my favorite of I don't know. Yeah, this is a single. This is my favorite off of the more easily digestible cuts on this album for sure. Um, if not one of my favorite
This
songs
is
on
a
this album,
weird
period.
single, to be fair.
Yeah,
Like Deep
true.
Down Body Thirst was not a single, and this was the second single. which is like really interesting to me. I think that this is like one of the probably maybe one of the less digestible songs on the album, besides the fact that it features Future, who is one of the
Really?
most high profile artists on it. Yeah,
I think it's a list.
Future
Okay,
is
all right.
the Future is the part during the stomp and clap like breakdown. It's like my girl don't wear shoes unless it cost over 1,000. I can't do the rhythm of it, but like super hot
Oh, I love
fire. I'm
that
not a
shit.
rapper. So good. I love
1,000.
Future's feature. And I love the
One
synth,
dash.
like the da 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 da. Like if you know what I'm talking about, that part
No, I
is
don't quite
excellent
remember that.
production. Dang. Um, this song is one of the most like pristinely produced on the album, in my opinion. Um, it has
Oh yeah.
another. It has a vocal sample that I think is from the same or similar source as the Lemon vocal sample. It's like a make 'em call, something like that. I don't know what it's saying exactly, but it's like a it sounds like a Minecraft villager. Honestly, is what I think of. I don't know why, but uh, that's a weird comparison. I have no idea why, but it does not sound like a Minecraft villager at all. I'm going to be honest, but um, very good song.
Assembling a riot. I
Chanting,
love this
encircling
song.
the fires.
I love this song so much.
Yep.
Now
Now
next we
this,
have Don't Do
now
It.
this one,
Don't do it.
this might be the best song on the album, in my
Really?
opinion.
Okay.
It might be. I'm not saying it is, but it's about police brutality. It's a very
Oh
openly
yeah.
political song as well, and it's contrasted by the very serene production on the intro, and then a B-52's Rock Lobster ass like guitar breakdown with the bum 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 bum. bum.
Yeah, this
So
album is
good.
a great album.
Yeah. Um, the refrain of "Don't do it, don't do it," which I think is in reference to the confusion and uncertainty of how to handle police encounters
Yeah.
during situations of police brutality, is a pretty haunting and uh, memorable chorus.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is because it says they tell you pull over, tell you get out the car. Something says don't do it, don't do it.
Frank Ocean was actually a writer on the song and was originally featured in the intro.
Hmm.
There's a demo of that you can find out on the internet. Fun fact. But I think that obviously a Frank Ocean feature would have made the song even better, but I think it's still great without Frank Ocean. Pharrell Williams does an excellent job.
What do you think about the Kendrick verse?
Oh, it's amazing. One of the highlights of the album, in my opinion. The
It
sub
went a
bass on this entire album is fantastic as well, just a production feature. But I'm curious what you were about to say.
the Kendrick verse was a little bit dense for me. I didn't digest shit of what he said. He was rapping
Yeah, I
really
don't know what he's
fast.
talking about.
But yeah, no, it's an excellent performance from like a vocal perspective for sure.
Exactly. There's some parts of it that I think are more clear, like how many more of us got to see the coroner um, slain by the same badge. So there's clearly themes in the verse that fit the rest of the song. Different decades, same law. Um, and so there's definitely parts of it I can pick up on, but other parts I'm not quite sure what he's getting at.
Pac-Man want to prosecute you. Let's see what Genius has to say about this. Oh yeah, it says in this in real life, like you're the ghost and the officer is Pac-Man, like it's that mindless of just like a pursuit. Um,
And
damn.
also a reference to the movie Colors, apparently. It's the nickname of a cop.
Mm. Kendrick
That's
with
what it
them
says in the
double
paragraph beneath, at
entendres.
least. Yeah,
Honestly, the
I
movie
am
reference
curious.
sounds a little bit more, a little bit more likely than the Pac-Man reference. The Pac-Man reference is
What
a little
does
bit
the
far-fetched, but it is a cool thing to think about, though. Like it would be a cool metaphor if that's what he meant.
what does the genius have to say about the Hitler line?
Let's see. Face off, Adolf Hitler, grandkids slayed off. Oh, so he's also talking about not just black oppression, but oh, okay. So he's talking about how would-be Holocaust victims are still facing the same prejudice 70 plus years later. So yeah,
According to
like
Genius.
I mean, yeah, but it is true, right?
Yeah. No, oh
And
yeah, I want to be clear. I'm saying, according to Genius, that's the interpretation. I agree that they are facing the same oppression.
oh
To
yeah,
be
I
clear
would
about that.
that would sound feasible or right to me. Like it's saying
Yeah.
th we us as in people who would have been subject to the Holocaust based off Adolf Hitler, and you know, 2 generations later we're still being slayed off. Same
Mhm.
rules, same chalk, different decades, same law. Damn, Kendrick Lamar is a really good rapper.
You don't say.
Anything else on this one?
Uh, nah. Aside from there's a like a clavinet that's in this song, and I like it, and that's
Is
about
that
it.
is that an instrument?
Yeah,
I've
it's
never
like a
heard of that.
percussion. I couldn't describe it.
It's percussion and it ends in a net?
ESP. This is one of my favorite deep cuts on the album. Especially love the switch up that sounds really mystical, like about certain part of the way through the song.
Energy,
Energy, energy, energy,
energy.
energy. And then the breakdown that happens partway through. Can you scroll down? I'm trying to remember what the lyrics were at that part. Oh, it's like uh you know you got something right. You're doing something right when people ask, "Hey, what are you on?" Uh and like that part, the instrumental to that part reminds me of Neon Guts, produced by Pharrell Williams by Lil Uzi Vert. Uh, like the mystical sound of it and everything. But lots of very Pharrell Williams ass lyrics on this song, in terms of like spiritual and self empowerment kind of messages. You know JPEG Mafia?
Yeah, I don't really listen to his music or I haven't in a while, but I do know of him.
Okay, JPEG Mafia apparently fucking hates Pharrell Williams, and I don't really
Why?
know why. I think it's because Pharrell Williams apparently has some. I think I think that the idea is that Pharrell Williams has some political beliefs that JPEG Mafia is not a fan of, particularly surrounding, um, like, how do I put it? Like, I think Pharrell Williams might have more of a tendency towards, like, black self empowerment in a way that can be considered to be um, maybe libertarianish or like bring yourself up kind of ish, and that JPEG Mafia is not a fan of. But I could be wrong about that. I might be slandering right now. I could just be talking shit. But um, yeah, there is there are people who have beef with Pharrell Williams, so I am just talking about him as a musician and as a producer. I don't really know about all of his social beliefs. And I think on this album, I can I can at least read everything in a way that is positive, but uh, I don't want to speak to other people's issues with him, even though I just kind of did. But sorry about that, actually.
Yeah, this is when the album really really kind of starts for me, honestly.
Really.
I mean, 1000 is also great, but like I said, I really like the deep cuts on this album. And obviously this is when like that sort of vibe that a lot of the deep cuts has is like first realized or first appears.
Hmm. This is one of my favorite deep cuts for sure. This is a great example of how good the sub bass is on this album.
I just found out what sub bass is like on Saturday, so I didn't really listen to the sub bass, or I wouldn't be able to place what it even sounds like.
It's like
Well, actually,
808 bass, like stuff
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like it's
In
more
case
more
anyone who
like
was listening was not
lends.
aware as well.
Does isn't it based that like lends more of like a feeling rather than like an overt like sort of like sound?
It's sub bass. I think is a reference to subwoofers, so it's like very low pitched
Yeah.
often, and so I think that that could be a fair assessment. But on this album, it's often very melodic and textured, like very booming. And this album sounds great in a car, I must say.
Oh yeah, that's where I listen to it.
Yeah, Eve can confirm.
I went on a drive through the Texas Hill Country at night and re-listened to
Yeah,
this album.
yes.
Next song.
Yep.
Lightning fire, magic prayer.
This is
I
another
didn't mean
great deep
to.
cut.
Um,
Sing the
yes,
letter
no.
G.
Oh God. Gee. Oh my God, that's one of the most magical moments of this album, and maybe like up there as far as magical moments in for me. That seeing the letter
Mhm.
G bit.
Yeah, I like how the G doesn't really like perfectly loop, like you can hear where it starts again.
Yes. Oh, that's such a nice touch. Like they could
Mhm.
have went through the painstaking process of like making it sound smooth, but they didn't,
Mhm.
and the
Yep.
song benefits from that heavily.
Yep. Great song. I don't even know what all to say about it. Just an amazing song, one of the best on the album, the longest on the album, and justifies its length entirely, in my opinion. Like a key part to the experience of this album. There's that one part that's like your technology, and it does the G sample at
Yeah.
the end of technology. Love that part.
And doesn't he say something rather profound at that bit? He says, the fishbowl is a young fish doesn't know that it's wet. Once it swims and starts drinking, it forgets. No, the fishbowl is your technology. No direction, sailing. Everybody follow me. So like people like he's basically a commentary on how like some people like feel entitled to a platform while not having anything, to offer that's really of substance. Or maybe even
Hmm.
they are offering substance, but it's like the wrong kind of substance and it's leading people down the wrong path. Just like that's such a profound line. It's rather what's it called? Cynical.
Hmm.
But despite its cynicalness, if that's a word, it's still very profound. Like no direction sailing, everybody follow me. Like what a great fucking metaphor.
Hmm. Yep, very good. And also the waiting for the great I am bit, I think is a good part as well.
And
Great
it's also
song,
an
great
interesting
lyrics, great
commentary,
production.
for sure. And it's also like an interesting commentary that literally applies to you and me about how our generation, like the main sort of cultural phenomenon that separates Generation Y or the millennials from Generation Z um, is not only 9/11, but also the fact that we're the first generation that can't remember a time without computers, basically.
Hmm.
Um, like the older millennials, like were around before like home computers were really extremely popular, but like everybody, pretty much, 95% of people in Western society in Gen Z had at least a home computer in their home by like the age of 5.
Yeah,
Um, had at least a family computer rather in their home by the age of 5. And we just like it is kind of like water to us, and like I have no idea what it's like to witness like technology and a technology and social media influence lifestyle like from the outside looking in. Like I just had like I personally don't use social media that much, but I still use social media a little bit, and from aged like 11 to like 20 or 21, I did use technology all the time, or I did use social media all the time rather. So I've just never lived a life without social media. But Pharrell not only lived a life without social media, he like sees the impact that it's had on the younger generation, on people like us, from an outside perspective. Um, and he's just kind of almost like flexing that with this bit of the song.
I see that. I can see that. Yeah,
Kind of a bit of a mind fuck if you try to like really like think through it. Like, damn, Pharrell is really just like looking at us, and he just like almost might have a level of soberness to his vision as far as the personality traits of young people it's impossible for us to obtain because we've just been so influenced by technology from a young age. Like it's an entire perspective that we are just like it's almost like just inaccessible to us. And there's people,
yeah.
a lot of people walking around with that perspective.
Hmm. I also like the chorus there. If you scroll back down, that's
This one,
like, oh no, back down. The come on now, lightning fire, magic prayer. I can't believe it's never been done. Imagine if we once all hands in the air for that lightning fire, magic prayer. I think is a very memorable and
damn.
also kind of haunting kind of sentiment of like, yeah, I guess we never tried just doing that. And like, imagine if we just like did a little hippie prayer together. If everyone just did that, that would probably
All 8
solve some
billion.
things. Yep.
Probably would, honestly.
But
Even if it doesn't solve like too many things, it would probably solve at least a couple things.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it would be something. It's worth a shot. I mean, I can't believe it's never been done. But yeah, great song, great sentiment. Another one of the more socially conscious, good songs on the album, in my opinion. Good deep cut.
Right, next song.
Rolling them seven.
Roll 'em seven. One of the
I do
catchiest
love Rolling them
songs.
sevens. This one has grown on me every time I've listened to it. To be fair, so I said earlier it's one of my lesser favorite on the album. That might change. That could easily change. That might be changing right now as I think about it. Honestly, it's a very good song. It's very experimental with the intro, with the not the literal intro, the Mad Ethnic Right Now sample used throughout the album, iconic as well. But the ways that the vocal layering in the chorus here with the roll around the world like I do with my brother, all the pretty girls want to be
Wanna
in
be
heaven,
by heaven?
and then the all you pearly queens and queens, you should be considering. And the vocal layering is like so much, like especially the first time that I heard it, I was like overwhelmed. I was like, does this work? And like every time I've listened to it after, I've enjoyed it more and more. So this is another song that might be a bit of a grower for me. The
I
Andre
just like it.
3000 part is also
Oh
exceptional,
yeah. I
as
didn't real
always.
I completely actually I had forgotten about the Andre 3000 verse. And like
How?
I mean I don't like I forget remember I forgot
Nah,
about
it's
the
fine. It's
entire
fine.
album.
Yeah, that's fair. You raise a good point. Also, how, but also fair. This album hasn't really, I feel like, been discussed a ton since it came out, but I have a feeling there will hopefully be resurgence of interest in it at some point. Like I could see some artist in the future being like name dropping this album or name dropping N.E.R.D and there
For
being a
sampling
resurgence
it.
of interest. Yeah, sampling them. This album, there are parts of this that would be great to sample. I've tried sampling parts of it myself, but uh, it's already so well produced that there's like you'd basically just be lifting parts of the song, which is sometimes great for sampling, but very good.
You know, with each generation of hip hop, there seems to be a beef between the older generation and the newer generation. Like how, if I'm remembering it correctly, how like gangster rap took over in the 80s, and then melodic rap and pop rap started to become more of a thing in like the 2000s, and then lyricism was kind of dropped as an extremely important factor with our generation.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems that the next big cultural, like generational divide in hip hop may be over the complexity of production and the level of novelty in production and the use of samples. I've already seen several people complain that a lot of the music that Generation Alpha is into, um, is just really heavily sample based and like doesn't it a lot of producers nowadays don't really value a lot of original composition. They're just really content with throwing a lot of catchy samples from previous songs together to make something new. And as a producer who like is very like anti-sample and just like my own personal like production practices, I can understand where those people complaining are coming from for sure, but I also kind of feel like I, despite what I said in the previous episode, don't want to just like mindlessly participate in the hating on the new generation. I want to at least give it a chance. Give a chance to these people, these new kids producing that just like don't really care about, coming up with melodies and just want to throw a whole bunch of samples together. Like it's a very interesting new cultural divide, new generational divide. I can see why it's a generational divide. I can see why people my age and older don't really like it. I can understand the appeal of why younger people are doing it. Very interesting phenomenon to be on the other side of that, where you're not at the, well, at least I'm now at that age where I'm on the other side of some of these like generational conversations to say like I'm on the old head side rather than on the new generation side.
Yep.
And
When it
another
comes,
thing,
oh, go ahead.
yeah, no, you go ahead.
When it comes to sampling, I am generally, I think I'm tend to be more lenient in siding with the young people in general, and when it comes to sampling in particular, like a lot of like what people now look back on as golden age of music of like the 70s and 60s, a lot of those artists, even though they weren't directly sampling, were riffing on each other, were like
Mhm.
taking chord progressions and melodies and other things from each other. Music has always been a very like taking from each other, like it's inherently
Oh yeah,
going to be taking from other artists in some way. um, Maybe not always, maybe not necessarily, and there's different degrees of that as well. I'm not saying that everything is literally the same level of creativity necessarily, um, but I do think that like lots of the greatest hip hop songs, like "No More Parties in L.A." by Ye and Kendrick Lamar, that is just like that beat is just a sample with like a tambourine on it, and that's like one of the best beats ever. And
Yeah.
um, there's many examples of things like that, and to this day, I think that there's ways that something can be done that is creative and pushes the boundaries, and there's ways that things can be done that don't necessarily do that. And not pushing the boundaries isn't a bad thing. Like I love like Broccoli by Drum and Lil Yachty, even though that song, like the beat of that song, is one of the most simple beats of all time. But and like that was just them having fun and not trying to push the boundaries necessarily. But in doing that, they ended up with something that's a very unique song, and I think like has its own place in history, in music history. But with this album, there is a great combination of original production and sampling. It's very like vocal sample heavy, particularly. And this song, "Rollin' Them Sevens," has one part that sounds like a sample. That's like a da 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 or something like that. That sounds like a sample to me. Um, that's like a transition at one point in the song. Um, I think that this album does an exceptional job of melding. It came out in 2017, and it did an exceptional job of melding together so many different things: sample-based stuff, original stuff, uh, in an exceptionally creative way. So, you had more that you were going to say before, so you can either continue what you were going to say, or respond to me, or do whatever.
I
Podcast.
know the only things I had left to say were yeah, like a sample and drums can go a long way, and that's just what a lot of modern producers are doing, just like as a commentary on the No More Parties in LA beat. And then also what was the other thing? Oh yeah, I think I don't know if I should say that I think I suspect that Drake totally finessed from this song on his song with
Really?
21 Savage. His song with 21 Savage, God, what was that single from Her Loss? Jimmy Cooks. Was that from Her Loss?
No,
I'm not sure.
that's the album before that. Are you talking about Rich Flex?
Yeah, I know. No, I'm talking about Her Loss. I just forgot it's from Honestly Nevermind. Um,
Okay,
and they like
I don't see that. I'm curious what makes you think that.
the say something part where Drake is just going
Oh,
say so.
I
That's
could
like
hear that. I
literally
could hear that.
exactly what happens.
I could hear that. I don't know if that was intentional, but it
Uh,
could be.
It very well may not have been intentional, but it's still very similar. What is going on?
Mhm. It's different enough that I think that it doesn't bother me either way, honestly. Even if it was inspiration, I think it's like a cool reference if it was intentional. And if not, then it just wasn't intentional.
It also just sounds good in the song.
Yeah, exactly. Jimmy Cooks is good.
It is a very good song.
Yeah. Anyway, we're not talking about honestly never mind. We're talking about no one ever really dies.
No one ever really dies. What is happening? Why is okay? My computer was glitching out for a second there.
Dang. Kites, another
Oh,
Kendrick Lamar feature.
and an MIA feature. Let's fucking go.
Exactly. And apparently ASAP Rocky. I didn't know that. I wonder if it's a
Me
sample.
neither. I didn't hear MIA on the chorus. I didn't hear her until she came in on the fourth verse, which also apparently has ASAP Rocky. Oh, just doing
Mhm.
ad libs. But yeah, when she came on the fourth verse, I was like, is that and I like looked at my car stereo and I saw featuring Kendrick Lamar and M, and I just knew from the M that it was MIA, and I was like, oh shit, I
Iconic.
forgot about her feature too. Um, yeah, I did not know A$AP Rocky was on this all over this song.
Hmm.
A lot of ad libs.
A lot. Yeah. I don't have a lot to say about this song. This is one that I think has grown on over time, but is still probably not one of my favorites on the album,
It is
personally.
really mainly because of MIA. MIA saves the song. I'm just joking. She doesn't save it, but it's a much better song because of her fucking presence.
Oh yeah, for sure.
High CPU usage was detected. Ooh. I have an M1
Ooh,
MacBook Pro. It should be fine. Should be
I
fine. Should
believe
be
in you.
fine.
Secret Life of Tigers. This is another great deep cut.
And in my opinion, the last good song on the album. The last song is the only song I would say that I don't like.
I like the last song.
Oh,
It's goofy. I enjoy it. And this is another one that I think is a bit more political, but I'm not quite sure that I fully get it.
yeah. Yeah, and there's no description on Genius, so the world may never know what it means. Genius doesn't have anything to say. Nobody has anything to say. Um, Nerd is sampling what Saden Smith, what This Is the Madness. Nerd is sampling what Seaton Smith said during the 2016 Milwaukee riots after his brother, Sylville Smith, was killed by police. Saden Smith was asked, what's it going to take for you guys to stop this chaos? Smith responded, it's not us, it's the police. This is the madness that they spark up. This is what they encourage. This is what they provoke. Yeah.
Hmm. A lot of political vocal samples throughout this album. That is an
Are you
especially
mad
good
right
one.
now? Are you mad right now? Bite down, bite down. Are you tired right now? Where you at? What you doing? Pipe down, pipe down. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm really picking up exactly what Pharrell's putting down, but it does seem political.
Hmm.
Want to move on to trying
To
to
Lifting You.
convince me why the last song is good. Oh, it is high CPU usage. My computer's bugging.
I don't know if I can convince you. I see why people might not like it, but I just think it's fun.
Number one, Ed Sheeran.
I don't hate Ed Sheeran. That's my hot take for the episode. I don't hate Ed Sheeran.
Uh, unless it's Shape of You, I do hate Ed Sheeran.
Shape of You. That's the song.
Yeah.
Not even what's it? Not even dang, I don't even remember the name. I'm not making a good case right now. The Castle song. The frickin'
Nah.
uh I'm on my way.
I guess he's
Something
also
in
all right on
something.
he's also all right on that one of those kind of night song on by Eminem.
I
He's
don't
all right
know
on
that
that
one.
song too.
I know he was featured on that one Eminem album that nobody likes, which is one of the only Eminem albums I've listened to. Was it Revival?
Revival, yeah. I
Yeah,
agree that
he
it's
was featured on that
underrated.
album.
It's a
I
decent
didn't say it was
album.
underrated. You're
I think
putting
it's a
words in my
little
mouth right now.
underrated. I don't think it's like terrible. I think it's just decent and by Eminem standards, not that great.
Yeah, I can't speak
Definitely
to
that one
comparing
and
it to the rest of
Recovery
Eminem's
don't
career.
really. I can, and I would say that one and Recovery like don't really. It's surprising that that's the like one of the only Eminem albums that you really listen to, because I would say that one and
It
Recovery
is.
just
It is
like
very weird.
really besides well, I guess the singles on Recovery are pretty good. But that entire album Revival and then the deep cuts on Recovery just kind of don't quite hold up to the rest of his discography for some reason. I can see the appeal in every other album. Infinite is like vintage Eminem. Slim Shady LP is the Slim Shady LP. Marshall Mathers LP is the Marshall Mathers LP. The Eminem Show is the Eminem Show. Encore, I think, is underrated because it's funny as fuck. Relapse is a fantastic horrorcore album, even if it's not what Eminem, brought Eminem's broader fan base was necessarily wanting. Marshall Mathers LP2 is like, in my opinion, probably my favorite Eminem album. And then
Mhm.
Kamikaze was like his comeback vibes wise, and then Music to Be Murder Mind is, I think most people agree, is also a solid album. But
Mhm.
Recovery and Revival, yeah,
Yeah.
they just don't really, they
Revival
don't have that
does feature
same
the line.
spark.
Revival does feature the line, "You got buns, I got Asperger's."
Oh my God.
That whole song is something else. Yeah. That's the song "Heat" off of Revival, in case anyone's curious. I can't say I recommend it, but I can't say that you shouldn't listen to it either because it's an experience.
All right, so enough about Eminem. What do you have to say about Lifting You? Make your case. I'm just joking. You don't have to convince me.
I think it's fun. I think it's a good weed song basically.
Is that what
So
it's about?
I think that's probably why I like it. It references weed a couple times. It's like a silly kind of braggadocious song. Um, I don't mind the Ed Sheeran hook. I kind of like it. I think it's catchy. I think that the production is good at least. Um, Even if it's not the most like in-depth production on the entire album, I think it's good. Uh, I just think it works as a closer. I like it.
Yeah, it works as a closer, I guess. It's a little bit anticlimactic, but it works for sure. It kind of brings the
Mhm.
album to to a to a to a stopping point. It's a stopping point. Um,
Yeah,
and yeah, I guess that's No One Ever Really Dies by Nerd.
great album.
Definitely.
It
Any
doesn't
any
have the
closing
same
thoughts?
it doesn't have the same kind of post-death like emotional punch that Circles by Mac Miller has, but this is one of my favorite albums of all time, just from a pure production standpoint, and the lyrics being consistently good and introspective or political, even while being somewhat difficult to follow at different points. Um, I think that they at least put meaning into it, and um, I think that this album holds up exceptionally well for coming out in 2017, and that it's still ahead of the times. Um, like, I think that I would love to hear music catch up to this album. And yeah,
Yeah,
please check it out if you haven't. Do yourself a favor. I think
very
if you're a
much ahead of its
producer,
time.
especially, you should listen to this album to
True.
realize like what I don't know. It humbles me a lot for sure because it's like this is what happens when you put your 100% into like every track because it's
That is
so
true. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
detailed, it's so complex, it's so rhythmically like the vocal samples add like such great rhythms to everything. Um, I could, I love this album.
Hell yeah. All right, so that is No One Ever Really Dies by Nerd. Next Monday, we're going to be doing Birth of Violence by Chelsea Wolfe. One of my
Haven't heard
favorite
it.
albums of all time. One of the best vibes of all time. Like that album has a very consistent vibe from front to back. There's not a ton of I don't want to say versatility because there's like you know very skilled playing, but there's not a ton of sonic diversity on the album. It's just kind of like this like kind of one melancholy mood throughout the album, and it's a great, really well done mood. So that's just a small tidbit of what I'm eventually gonna have to say about Birth of Violence. But that has been the second episode of what is now called the Music Nook. Make sure to leave a comment if you have anything to say. Like, dislike the video. Let us know what you think.
I don't dislike it.
Share it. Yeah, I actually don't dislike it. If you dislike it, don't dislike it. Just like it or
If you
leave,
dislike
please.
it, fuck you. Nah, it's fine.
We're actually I actually have special access to YouTube statistics that let me see who dislikes a video. I'm actually like the only YouTube creator that can see who dislikes a video. And we will
Ooh,
track you down, and bad things will happen if we find out you dislike this video.
ooh,
So you better like it. You better comment if you have
yeah.
anything to say. You better share it if you feel that anybody else needs to see this podcast. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
See you next week.